Hey hybrids, Coach Mike here, and today we're going to be talking about getting stronger while hybrid training. How do you improve your strength while continuously running? We're going to look at ways you can improve your strength while running simultaneously, how to optimize your training to prioritize strength, as well as giving you some tips and tricks that I use both for myself and my clients to keep them getting strong while running at the same time. If you saw my last video where I talk about muscle building, this is going to be a little bit of a continuation from that, so I highly recommend you watch that video if you haven't already. But for now, let's dive into the tips and tricks I use to get people strong while running at the same time. So you want to get stronger while you run. This is what it's all about. Getting stronger and improving your fitness at the same time. These two things commonly thought to oppose each other really don't anymore, and you've probably heard me talk about this 1,000 times, so I'm not going to repeat myself. But if you haven't, watch some of my older videos where I highlight some of the points and information relating to the interference effect. Today we're going to be looking into tips and tricks just to get stronger while you run. Strength training, or strength, is generally related to movements, not training muscle groups or muscles individually. Movements that are generally considered strength builders are usually compound movements. These include, but are not limited to, things like squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, clean and jerk, rows, lunges, all kinds of things. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about squatting, benching, and deadlifting, as those are the things that are most common with me because I am a powerlifter as well as a runner. There are three things that are common predictors of strength and that make up your strength. The first thing being your technique. Your mechanics as well as your technique and the way you complete a movement will ultimately be a big influence on your ability to produce force or absolute strength. So your technique on the deadlift, if it's good for you or bad for you, is going to dictate how much you lift, same as any other movement. The other thing being your muscular size. Generally, people with more muscle will be stronger than those that have less muscle. This isn't always the case, but it's a common rule in strength training that the bigger you are, usually the stronger you are. Or the more muscle you have, normally the more stronger you are. The third thing being your neuromuscular efficiency. One of the things people don't realize with strength training is that it trains your nervous system. It trains your nervous system's ability to contract muscles. The stronger you are at a particular movement, the more efficient your body or nervous system is at producing force in the muscles involved in that movement. For example, if I go to do a bicep curl and I am untrained, someone who has not done it before, I maybe will only recruit 50% of my motor units and muscle fibers in that movement pattern. For example, if I am a trained athlete, I have been doing this for years, my nervous system is able to recruit more muscle fibers, more motor units in order to produce more force because my brain has developed more pathways, more efficient and better at contracting the muscles involved in that movement. That is why you can often see little guys, if you watch powerlifting or a lot of Olympic lifting sports, sometimes there's guys that actually aren't that big but are strong as fuck. And that is because their nervous system is very good at getting the most out of the muscles that they have. Although they may not be big, their nervous system is able to squeeze every ounce of strength out of their muscles in order to produce the force to lift the weight that is in front of them. So, those three things are massive predictors of strength. All of those things are equally as important in my opinion. Now, if anyone has been following me on social media, if you aren't, at Coach Michael Sekos is my Instagram. I'll have a link in the description below. You'll know that I'm training for a push-pull-run competition, which involves me bench pressing, deadlifting, 1RM, as well as a 2.1 kilometer run. Right now, my training, which you're going to see some of today as always, is inclusive of both strength training and running. Today is a strength training session, but in particular in my training right now, I've been prioritizing getting better at bench press and deadlift in order to perform at the competition I have coming up. First tip, if I'm trying to get stronger, I need to figure out what movements I'm trying to get stronger at. So generally it's going to be compound movements. Pick whichever ones you want to develop and whichever ones you want to get good at because you're going to need to do them for a long period of time. In my context, because I'm a power lifter, squat, bench, and deadlift are my main ones. Sometimes I'll throw in overhead press. Obviously rows and all that kind of thing are super important as well. But for the most part, squatting, benching, and deadlifting are the things that I prioritize most. So find what exercises you want to get stronger at, and they're going to stay in your program for a while. The reason why these exercises need to stay in your program for a while is so we can progress them and get better at them. We don't want to be changing exercises all the time. We need to keep them in the programs for months, years, who knows how long. As long as you want to be getting stronger at these movements, they pretty much should always be in there. Next thing is you want to spend some time building muscle. So the muscles involved in whatever movement it is you're trying to get good at are usually the ones you want to try and get bigger. If your goal is to have a bigger bench press, it makes a lot of sense to try and get your chest and triceps bigger. Developing muscle overall is always going to help you get stronger. If you remember back to the 3 things I mentioned before that make up what strength is, your neuromuscular efficiency, your muscular size or cross-sectional area, as well as your technique or biomechanics. So spending some time building muscle is always going to be beneficial. Build muscle everywhere. Having more muscle everywhere is always a good thing. And then your body will figure out where it needs to prioritize that muscle in using it for the bigger lifts or when lifting. All you need to do is focus on building muscle as much as you can. Continue to do that kind of throughout your training career. And keep in mind, the more muscle you have, the more muscle you have to then contract. In theory, the more muscle that is contracting, the more force that is being produced, the more weight is being lifted. So having more muscle is always a good thing. 9 times out of 10, the bigger guy is going to be the stronger guy. So if you want to get stronger, building muscle is going to be probably your first point of call. The next thing you should do if you want to lift heavier and get stronger is spend some time honing in on your technique. Everyone lifts differently. So do not go and copy and paste what your favorite lifter is doing exactly. Although some of the things they are doing will most definitely apply to you, it is highly unlikely that you will lift exactly the same as them. So I recommend spending some time honing in on your technique and finding the right positions for you, the positions that feel the most comfortable, the positions that produce the most force, and the ones that feel or are the most efficient. Technique is a continuum, so it may change over time. The technique you use when you start lifting today may be very different to the technique that you use in 5 years' time. And that is okay, because in theory, as you're improving, your technique should also improve and change as well. Keep in mind that everyone's technique is going to be different. Those with longer arms will generally have a higher torso angle when they go to deadlift. Those with shorter legs will generally be a little bit more upright when they squat. Those with shorter arms will have a shorter range of motion than those with longer arms on the bench press. And this can apply to all different kinds of lifts. Some lifts will be more favorable for some individuals given the way they are made. For me, because my arms are quite long, deadlifts tend to be very good for me. But because my arms are so long, bench press is not my friend. Find the lifts that kind of work well for you. Obviously, if you're lucky enough to be good at everything, fucking oath, you'll probably find progressing really easy. But if you're like me and maybe you're better at some lifts like deadlifts, which progress quite easily, but other lifts are quite hard like bench press or overhead press, they progress quite slow. So either way, you're just going to need to find whatever technique works best for you. Like I said, what is most efficient, allows you to produce the most force and feels comfortable. And in time, you should see that you continuously progress. If you want to get strong, you have to be recovered and you need to prioritize your recovery. And I'm not talking about fucking ice baths or saunas or fucking cupping or getting a massage, okay? I'm talking about actual things that can promote physiological recovery. Those things are primarily, but not limited to, sleep, stress management, training within your recoverable limits in the gym, finding your minimum effective volume, staying between that and your maximum recoverable volume, ensuring you're not doing too much, making sure you eat enough and you eat enough food to fuel the demands of the exercise that you're doing. Doing those things are the foundation of your recovery, plus a couple other things here and there. But I'm telling you, fucking massage is not there, and neither is going in for a sauna. Okay, those things can help promote the downregulation of your nervous system. However, they are not the thing that is causing the recovery. It is the downregulation of the nervous system that is causing the recovery. They are just helping you get there, just to be clear. Nonetheless, eating, sleeping, stress management, not doing too much in the gym and just doing enough, those things will help you recover. Those things are important. And why is recovery so important? Because strength requires you to be able to produce maximal force. If you just had to go in the gym and just lift whatever, you don't need to be recovered, because you can probably lift 5 kilos on any given day, but you need to lift heavier than you did last time. And eventually, if you're doing it right, that's gonna get pretty fucking hard. So you need to be feeling good and somewhat recovered. And if you're doing it right, that's gonna be somewhat hard. You're going in that gym session every single time feeling absolutely fucked. You may be able to get away with it for a while, but eventually it's gonna catch up to you, and eventually you're not gonna be able to push as much as you want to. Maybe a little bit contradictory to things I've said in the past, because unfortunately, with hybrid training, there is always a level of fatigue that you're going to carry, and you just have to deal with that. But that aside, just prioritizing your recovery as much as possible is going to be super important. Even more so because you're running at the same time. If you think you can just get strong without prioritizing recovery, you're not going to get very far. Recovery needs to be a priority if you want to be able to continuously push your sessions. If you want to continuously do more, you need to be in somewhat of a recovered state. If you are under-recovered and your body is carrying that much fatigue, it will inhibit your performance and your ability to produce maximum force. But if you're able to manage your recovery, plan your training week, do all the other stuff I've mentioned both in this video and in previous videos, which I highly recommend you go and watch if you haven't, you will be able to progress. But you just can't be a dumbass about your recovery, especially if you want to get stronger, and even more so if you want to get stronger while running at the same time. You need to be a recovery wizard. You need to know your body. You need to know what you can do, and you need to be smart about it. Just a side note on recovery. In the beginning, most people just need to get in the gym, train hard, continuously progress, consistently run, consistently lift, and you will more than likely continue to get stronger and continue to get faster and fitter, even if you're under-recovered. As a beginner, you can be under-recovered and you will probably continuously make progress, but there will be a time that recovery becomes really important if you want to continuously progress. As you get into that intermediate/advanced kind of stage of your hybrid training, both in running and lifting or just one, it's going to require more effort for you to improve. So it's even more important that you are recovered to be able to put in that effort when you go into those training sessions. Because if you are not recovered enough, you're just not going to have it in you to be able to do more than what you did last time in order to cause that stimulus for adaptation, for improvement. Nonetheless, most of the time as a beginner, all you need to do is just be consistent, train hard, lift, run, keep doing those things, and you're going to get steady improvements no matter what. But when the time comes, you're going to actually need to have some thought about what you're doing in the gym, how much you're doing, as well as how you're recovering outside of those sessions if you want to go ahead and back it up on that next run, that next heavy deadlift session, whatever it is that you're going to try and push in the gym. Those things start to become more and more prevalent. Training in rep ranges that produce strength. So all rep ranges will help you get stronger, but some are a little bit more favorable than others. Training in lower rep ranges, particularly that 3 to about 8 rep range, can be super useful at getting stronger. Why? Because those rep ranges are really good at improving the brain or central nervous system's ability to recruit muscle fibers because of the intensity and load being produced, as well as the time under tension and a whole bunch of other nerdy, sciencey things that I really don't want to go into in this video. But know that if you want to get stronger and your goal is to get stronger, training in lower rep ranges can be useful. You don't need to do it all the time. Because we're trying to get stronger at doing like a 1 RM bench press, it doesn't make sense to be doing 20 reps of bench press all the time because it's so different to what we're doing here with trying to get stronger at the 1 RM. Training in reps close to 1 RM or around there can be super useful. Doesn't mean you do a 1 rep max every time you go in the gym. I'm not going to go into the rep ranges you should be doing because it obviously varies depending on where you're at in your training and so on. But training in lower rep ranges can be really useful at improving the efficiency of your central nervous system, recruiting muscle fibers, as well as being a little bit more specific to the force or task at hand that you're trying to do in the gym, which is lifting maximal loads or absolute loads, i.e. bench press, squat, deadlift, overhead press, row, whatever it is you're trying to get stronger at. If you're trying to get stronger at doing that one thing, you should probably lift heavy weights, which generally means lifting heavy weights is less reps. So something to think about. Okay, hybrids, that's a wrap on another video, how to get stronger while hybrid training, how to get stronger at whatever lift it is you're trying to do while running at the same time. We highlighted a whole bunch of tips that I apply both to myself and my clients. Each of those tips can be applicable right now to you in your training, so I highly recommend you take some notes, go ahead and apply them to your training, or if you're unsure how to go about it, feel free to leave a comment and just ask away and I'm happy to answer. Need one-on-one guidance and assistance, you know you can always reach out to me for online coaching available to anyone, anywhere in the world. Visit my website, www.coachmichaelsekos.com. All you have to do is send an inquiry and I'll do the rest. Otherwise, you can get more content at my Instagram, at Coach Michael Sekos, where I have a whole bunch of other free shit there, and you can DM me if you have any questions there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks heaps.